Join our live feed on Living in Arizona. Okay. All right, guys. So what's going on? This is Jeff, and we are live here at my house on a Sunday afternoon. And in case you are wondering what I've been up to, well, my neighbor, she likes drinking margaritas, so she's made me a margarita. This is actually my second one. We're using strawberries and silver tequila, some agave nectar, and yeah, it's pretty good. I'm feeling pretty good. It's just hot out, you know. I like put a little bit of ice in there, so let me take a drink. I was doing some gardening earlier, and yeah, it was hot. I mean, I need to drink some water too, but I figured, you know, what am I going to do? Might as well make a live stream and share with you guys some questions, because guys like Ted, Warg, and others were saying, hey, I missed your last live stream. Can you go again? So that's what we're doing. So if you're new to this live stream here, or first time tuning in, please do smash up the likes, push the like button, and that will help get this out to the community so we can have a really engaged live stream. Hope you guys don't mind if I'm having a margarita or two. Actually, this is my second one. I did have a beer before that, but I'm still very coherent and capable of carrying on a pretty good dialogue. Hope none of you guys are going to be offended by the fact that I am drinking. I mean, as long as I'm not belligerent, right, that it should be good to go. So the point of this is to ask questions. But before we do, I'm going to start it off with some information regarding Arizona. And I just want to go over some of the basics to know about Arizona, such as where Arizona gets its name and stuff like that. That way that people kind of start off on the right foot. We're not just called Zonies. It actually has a reason why this is called Arizona. So the state's name appears to originate from an earlier Spanish name, Arizonac, derived from the O'odham name Alisonac, meaning small spring, which initially applied only to an area near the silver mining camp of Planchas de Plata in Sonora. So if you didn't know, Arizona used to be part of Mexico. Sonora is a state in Mexico. So they're saying that Planchas de Plata, Sonora, Mexico, is actually where the name Arizonac gets its name. So if you're moving to Arizona, you're going to have to get familiar with the Spanish and Mexican connection that does exist in the Southwest. It's true. It's historical. It goes all the way back in time. This used to be part of Mexico. Now it's a part of the United States. So what I'm saying is that's something to know. So that's why Mexican food is some of the most premier food you're going to ever eat when you come to Arizona. And you get these Southwestern style homes and all that stuff. Also, some other things. Arizona is the 6th largest in terms of area and the 14th most populous state out of all the 50 states. So the capital city is Phoenix, and it's also kind of got a unique area about it called the Four Corners region, which includes Utah, Colorado, and New Mexico. And then we're also neighbored with Nevada. So it's really easy to hop, skip, and jump over to Las Vegas for a weekend getaway and over to San Diego for the beach, or Los Angeles. But I would say just go to San Diego when you want to go to California, or you could go to Rocky Point, Mexico. But let's go ahead and check some of these questions as they're coming in. And so if you haven't already, start asking questions. Let's see if we've got any questions coming in. Have you guys been asking? If not, maybe I'm not doing a good enough job of encouraging people to ask, but I'm not seeing them. Let's see here. Why is there not showing any? Someone ask a question, because I'm not seeing a thing here. That's kind of embarrassing. I know people are asking questions. I'm just trying to figure out why YouTube's not showing it to me. All right. So anyways, I'll just keep on talking. Well, some of the questions that I've gotten from the Living in Arizona group, okay, because, you know, we can just go off of that, and that's where we'll start. So Bruce Hogue, he says, in a reply to my comment on a recent video, Jeff said that he wore long sleeves even in the hot weather to protect his skin from UV. I have very fair skin and wear 50 SPF cream. If I'm going to be in the sun constantly for more than half an hour when I'm cycling, for instance, where I live, however, it rarely gets really hot in my opinion, but the humidity is high. In AZ, where the humidity is very low most of the time, do you find that the cream is an effective way to protect your skin? I'm thinking that it might simply evaporate rather than sweat off as it does with the moisture climates. Okay, so why I wear long sleeves. Someone asked me that in my last live stream. They said, why are you wearing a long sleeve if it's really hot? Guys, thanks for everyone who smashed up the likes. By the way, we have 9. We have 31 people watching. So if you can just smash up that like, that'll get this video out there to more people so we can get these comments and stuff going. I also will drop a link to this group on Facebook where everyone's keeping up with each other. But about the long sleeve. So if you get the lightweight, the lightweight polyester, the sun stuff, the sun resistant, kind of like a rash guard in Hawaii, you would get that just that lightweight. It's really comfortable and it protects your skin. Yeah, I mean, it's better than having to, like, I don't really like lathering up with all this like sunscreen and stuff, putting it on my face and all that. If I'm going to go out in the sun, I'm going to wear one of those full brim hats. And you'll see a lot of construction workers, they wear like the full face thing and it has like that protector on the back. Construction workers wear that. And actually, if you wear that, you'll feel very comfortable even out in the heat. So long sleeve shirts, just make sure they're very, there's a name for it. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but it's like a UV protectant, lightweight polyester, very thin, and you will feel pretty comfortable with it. It's not going to be like, I'm not saying wear a sweater, okay? We're talking about a lightweight polyester with one of those hats. So you can do landscaping. It'll be 110 degrees out, but you got the full brim hat with one of those face protectors. I actually just ordered one yesterday on Amazon for 13 bucks. It's camo. The one that I have now is full brim, but it doesn't have the face protector and the long thing on back and behind my neck. So yeah, if I was to go out riding my bike or something, I would cover up like that instead of lathering on sunscreen. The reason I don't like sunscreen is because you put it on your forehead and you sweat and then it starts dripping in your eyes and you're like, oh man. So it's just pointless to me. I'm not saying don't use lotions or stuff, because lotions, you do need that for the dryness, but to wear a sunscreen, I don't know, it's not really what I would what I do. Also, if you do get sunburn, which happens, put on aloe. So aloe is, you can go to the store and get soothing aloe cream. That's going to be the solution, aloe gel. All right, so let's see if we got any other questions. So yeah, long sleeve, lightweight, not a bad thing. It's comfortable. It's really comfortable. You don't even feel like, it's not, as long as it's a lightweight material, it's great. Someone, Janice Butler Rivera, what pages here on Facebook do you recommend keeping up with local and state happenings in Arizona? So if you're thinking about moving to Arizona and you want ideas of things to do, I recommend Instagram. That's why I've created our Instagram, Live in Arizona, which I'll also be sharing with you guys over time. You can just go to our channel and find the Instagram link, but that's a way to find out all the cool stuff to do around Arizona. But there's cool pages on Instagram, Instagram AZ, Conquer Arizona, just tons of Arizona Instagram pages that get out there and show you where all the hidden gems are. So yeah, Instagram is a really good place to start. I mean, the local news, the reason I don't really like keeping up with the local news is because they mix in cool pictures with like homicide pictures. Like, here's a mugshot of the guy who just killed 4 people. And you're like, oh, really? I don't really want to see that. So I just keep up with the people who are into adventure. And that's what we kind of do, is we talk about the adventure stuff. We don't really go too deep into the crimes that take place around the state. So yeah. And let's go ahead and take a look at some other questions. Thanks to everyone who smashed up the likes. We went from 9 to 29 likes. That's really got us going to 41 people now watching. So thank you. And yeah, that's why we do this, is because the more people who watch, the more people engage, the more people we're able to communicate with and get the ball rolling here. Last night, there was a fire that happened. You have the fire up in Bartlett Lake down by Horseshoe Lake. They're saying it's man-made. So there was another one out in the Superstition Mountains out by my house. We were posting pictures and showing you guys how it looked at night because you could see the fire up in the Superstition Mountains. People were saying be safe and whatnot to me, but I was like, well, typically the fires don't come all the way down into the city, and I'll explain why. There's no combustibles. So like one of the things they do when they're trying to stop a fire is they'll take a tractor and they'll try and grade it out and eliminate the brush, because the fire, if it has combustibles to keep burning, that's what pumps it. So they just clear that. It's like a fire lane. And so by the time it gets down to the valley, there's just not as much combustibles as there is Palo Verde trees and mesquite trees and ironwood trees and brush and shrubs. All the way up in the mountains. In the valleys, there's not that. So that's why most of the fires will burn up in the mountains. Could it happen in the valleys? Sure, that would be but people who are saying, oh, should I be scared about this? Probably not, unless you're living up in the mountains. I mean, the mountains are where those kind of things typically end up happening. So let's see if we can answer another question. One of the things that people took maybe too serious, but it really wasn't meant to be serious. Like, we like to be lighthearted and just play around and be, that's part of the thing about it. But this came from Arizona A to Z. That's another one of those pages that you can keep up with. You do have Arizona 15, you have ABC 15, just the basic news channels. You can always follow them if you want. But that's mainstream media, but you can follow them for sure. But this one's Arizona A to Z. It's a Facebook page. Fun things to do in Arizona. It's kind of like a facetious joking thing. Have a heat stroke, sweat your balls off, hug a cactus, collect rocks, get dehydrated, play in the dirt, wear sunscreen, go look at a giant hole in the ground, the Grand Canyon, get stung by scorpions, climb a rock, get bit by a snake, look at dead plants, be in a haboob, buy a cowboy hat, stay inside. The thing that gets me about these kind of like joking things about Arizona is people take it so literal. They're like, oh my God, I'm going to be getting a heat stroke. Well, yeah, I mean, if you go outside for about an hour or an hour and a half in the heat without any sort of sun protection, that means a hat or a covering, or, and you're not used to it and you don't drink any water, yeah, you could be vulnerable to getting a heat stroke after a couple hours. Okay. But they're kind of just joking around. They're saying like, welcome to Arizona. I mean, every state is going to have some of these kind of things that are ambiguous to it, right? So some people actually take it really serious and they think, oh my gosh, am I going to really sweat my balls off? Well, do you even have balls? I don't know. It's a joke though, guys. That's all I'm saying. Here's a question from Melinda Hatcher. Hello all. Anyone have experience traveling on a Southwest domestic flight with a cat into Phoenix? Is it a quick and relatively painless process? Their carrier dimensions are a bit confusing and not easily accommodated by the typical soft-sided Amazon carriers. So I'm wondering if an extra ½ inch in height makes a difference. Thanks in advance. So she's talking about traveling with a pet to Arizona. I think this is a question that would happen anywhere you're traveling in the continental United States, or even in the United States in general, and trying to bring a pet. And typically the best place you're going to get those answers is going to start with your vet, then asking your friends. But then if you really want the no joke answers, you got to go straight to the airlines. But yeah, I mean, that's a good question to ask, but most of us are not going to be too knowledgeable on doing that unless we've flown with cats. Here's another one from Mimi Forsyth. How long can you drive in Arizona with an out-of-state license? So this was, again, posted in our Facebook group. She wants to know about that. My comment was, I said, it does say on the back of our IDs, I wish I had my wallet with me and I could show you my ID, but it does say that you have 10 days to report a change of address. So say you move from Maine, and you come out here to Arizona in Tucson, say, and you got all these things you're worried about, like getting moved in, getting all your stuff situated, getting all your pets, your kids signed up for school and all that. They're giving you 10 days, really? Well, I mean, some people do it within in the span of a couple months, but and there's not really a penalty for it, but they do want you to report it within 10 days. But also someone was saying, if you do actually live here and you sell your house and you are no longer a resident of Maine or wherever you're coming from, you should be getting an Arizona driver's license or Arizona ID at the very least. And that's what some other people were saying. I kept my plates and license until my license expired. That was like 6 months. Didn't have any issues if I got pulled over. That's what Angie Williams said. So just some things to consider about that. And people are also asking about what's the weather like out here. Well, as you know, in the next 10 days, we are going to be entering into monsoon season. And monsoons are going to be basically some of the things that you need to know about monsoons is thunder, lightning. It can be very loud. The pole next to your house can get struck by lightning at 2 o'clock in the morning, and it can be like earth-shattering loud. That's the thing about monsoons is beautiful electric light shows, but it does get pretty powerful out there with these light shows, these thunder and lightning that happen. And also, there's going to be a lot of rain and wind involved in that. And so in my backyard, my trees need to be prepared for that. I need to make sure that my umbrellas are going to be secured, meaning that they're not going to be wide open for creating lift. And sometimes even these monsoons can bring with it extreme funnel clouds do come with it, and also microburst. Now, these are not things to be scared about. For some reason, I feel as though when someone explains something about things that could happen, people automatically become very fearful about that. And that's not our intention. There's no need to be scared about anything living in Arizona, not the scorpions, not the snakes, not the haboobs. I mean, I don't want people to get scared. People say to me, they're like, oh my gosh, I was very scared to go into the mountains because I heard there was going to be a fire. I'm like, no, don't be scared to go into the mountains because there might be a fire. Like the odds of a fire happening. I mean, because I guess what happened was the Bartlett Lake fire had happened, and it was man-made, and some people were crossing the lake, and they didn't know that there was a fire. And so when the evacuation happened, they were across the lake boating, and then there was an evacuation. And when they came back, they had to they couldn't go to the boat dock because there was a fire. But fires at the lakes rarely happen. This was just one of those situations where it was like bad luck, kind of. But like the odds of that happening when you go to the lake, a fire happening, are very small. If fires happen every day at the lakes, you wouldn't see greenery. It would all just be charcoal. So I'm just saying, wow, 30 likes. You guys really smashed up the likes. So thanks for that. 46 people now watching. We had 49 at a high. So obviously people are tuning in. And let's go back to our Facebook group, Living in Arizona, and see what we have here. More questions about the Arizona driver's license. So that's appearing to be a very popular question. People want to know what's up with the driver's license. I mean, we just answered that question, but basically, so David German, thanks for the ad. I'm planning to move from Texas to Scottsdale area within the next 60 to 90 days. I have a few questions. I am interested in living in Paradise Valley, pros and cons. I've heard it's great, and then I've heard, why do you want to live there? But not giving any specific reasons. Okay, Paradise Valley in general is not Scottsdale, right? And actually, it's more considered Phoenix. Paradise Valley basically starts on Cactus and goes all the way down to Camelback Mountain. There's this on the Camelback Mountain. If you're ever going down Tatum Boulevard and you look up at Camelback Mountain, you will see there's this guy who looks like a monk. It's a rock formation that looks like a praying monk. So to a lot of the old school people, by the way, I haven't drank my margarita for a minute. It tastes so good. It's strawberry. She made a strawberry margarita. Okay, for those of you who are just tuning in, yeah, I have been enjoying my Sunday with an ice cold margarita that my neighbor made for me because she's cool. But yeah, Paradise Valley is beautiful. It's scenic. It's high prices. It's expensive. It's close to downtown Phoenix. I'm really finding a hard time thinking of why anyone would not want to live in Paradise Valley, other than the fact that it's expensive. But Paradise Valley, it's centrally located. It's low crime, beautiful homes. It's a great area to be. You can hike up Camelback Mountain. Pretty much Paradise Valley is the premier destination. That's where, like, when the Phoenix Suns or the Arizona Cardinals, Kurt Warner, Charles Barkley, these guys, when they moved to Arizona, they moved to Paradise Valley. It's that kind of area. It is the Beverly Hills of Arizona without being as, goofy like that. So the cons, I would say it's hard to really say the cons about living in. I mean, the same cons you would have all across the rest of the state would apply to Paradise Valley, but for the most part, it's one of the better places to live in Phoenix. So, Darren, yeah, you're going to be in good hands over there in PV. Coming from Texas, what's the best Mexican food restaurant? Tex-Mex, chips, salsa, marks. We do have there. So Mexican food, just in case you didn't know, Mexico has different states. So just like in America, you have you have northeastern cuisine, which is going to be like Boston style food, right? Which is going to be different than Louisiana style Cajun food, which is going to be different than say the Midwest. Kansas City barbecue is different than Louisiana barbecue. You get the point. So Mexico has that same kind of thing. There's Baja flavor Mexico. There's Michoacan. There's Sonoran style Mexican food. There's Mexico City Mexican food. There's Yucatan Mexican food, which is going to be inspired by the Mayans and the Incas. So Tex-Mex is like Mexican food with a version of Mexican in general, right? And then California has it. But Arizona doesn't really have like an Arizona form of Mexican food. We have like varieties where like when you go into a Mexican restaurant, you check the menu or you ask the staff at the hostess, what part of Mexico is this type of Mexican food from? They might say Chihuahua, Michoacan, or they might say Baja, Baja Fresh, right? That's Baja style Mexican food. So Mexico City Mexican food, and there's different states in Mexico. So that's kind of the best way I would dial in Arizona as far as how we do Mexican food out here. So, let's go ahead and answer some more questions. 38 likes. So thanks to everyone who's been helping us out here, getting this out there, because we're now at 52 viewers. So that's a credit to you guys. Some people were asking about Prescott. What's up with Prescott? Well, in my opinion, Prescott being at a mile high. So if it's kind of like Albuquerque, by the way, for those of you who are also considering New Mexico as opposed to Arizona, you're like, well, I like Arizona, but what's up with Albuquerque, or what's up with New Mexico? Well, Albuquerque's at a mile high. Prescott's at a mile high. The difference between Albuquerque and Prescott is Prescott's got a whole lot less people, but there's a whole lot of upside to Prescott, and I consider Prescott to be an up-and-coming area. It's got nice pine trees. It's got nice lakes around there. It is small town. It's still very rural, although that could change at the drop of a hat, the way that explosive growth happens in Arizona. They did have plans to build a master plan community in Prescott with a high-tech freeway system. So that's something to consider about Prescott. It does have a lot of boomtown potential, and it's kind of just a matter of time before it does happen. But it's like Albuquerque, or it's a mile high, so you could say it's like Denver. The benefit to being in Prescott opposed to Albuquerque is Phoenix is 2 hours away. And if you need to get to the big city, like a big city metropolis like Phoenix, it being 2 hours away, whereas Albuquerque is the biggest city, but it's really just about the size of Tucson, or maybe a little bit bigger than Tucson. So I like Prescott. It's going to be snow. There's going to be snow up there, but it's not going to be as extreme summers, but it's going to be a little bit cooler in the winters and more rural. AJ Carr, I'm into the small rural town feel. I've already decided I will not live in another cookie cutter HOA neighborhood. I'm planning on spending a lot of time at Lake Pleasant as well. So it's either going to be Black Canyon City or New River for me. Well, I would say if I had a choice, I would go with New River. Black Canyon City, I would not go to Black Canyon City. It's too far. It's too many mobile homes. It's all right, but New River is really nice. New River's got a lot of upside. Black Canyon City, you don't even have to just move to Black Canyon City or New River. You could also consider Peoria, North Peoria, or North Phoenix in the area of Happy Valley. Even Happy Valley's a Happy Valley area. So that's great that you're moving over there and that you've already decided that you like Lake Pleasant and you want to be hanging out at that lake. But Black Canyon City, I would say I'm not so sure that I'd recommend Black Canyon City. It's still kind of out there. It's in the boonies. Black Canyon City is. Hi, AZ people. What is your honest opinion of the Ahwatukee area or Phoenix? I'm on the fence and need a push one way or another. about relocating there. Will I like it? Do you? Thanks for your help. Well, Ahwatukee is one of my favorite cities in all of Phoenix metro area. It's close to Tempe, so it's like you get all of the benefits of living in Tempe, but being another 5 to 10 minutes out. But you're at the base. You're at the base of the mountains, the McDowell Mountains. It's really a nice. It's really a nice area down there in Ahwatukee. So it borders with Chandler and Tempe. So from Ahwatukee, you can get downtown Phoenix within 20 minutes. You can get basically anywhere around. It's a beautiful area. I would probably recommend Ahwatukee. So Janice Butler Rivera, you're on the right track if you're headed towards Ahwatukee. That's a really good place to be, for real. And then so we've got other things going on with Arizona. Ted, he likes to post some funny stuff, and you'll see his funny stuff. I'll be looking at houses in Phoenix tomorrow. Anyone have any restaurant recommendations? So if you're going to downtown Phoenix or Scottsdale, there's going to be a different variety. So downtown Phoenix has its scene, and then Scottsdale has its scene. If you ask me which one I prefer, well, it depends. I mean, if you're going for the big lights and glamour of pro sports and concerts and all that, that's downtown Phoenix. But if you like the kind of out there but kind of high-end lifestyle bars and restaurants, Old Town Scottsdale. And then if you're a younger person, you're going to go to Tempe. But all the restaurants are going to be pretty good. I mean, it just depends on your cuisine. You want old school mesquite, grilled steaks, or you want sushi, or you want Asian cuisine, you want dim sum, you want barbecue, you want Mexican food. You can get it all, right? Car insurance question. What do you guys use there? I've read that Farmers and State Farm are towards the top, but it's hard to know if the reviewer was paid to be biased. Yeah, so Arizona does have higher insurance than most places because a lot of people spend a lot of time driving out here. So I will say that moving out here, I did pay a little bit more in insurance. It's hard to really tell which main company, because you can get cheap insurance, right? You can go to like Travelers or one of those subsidiary companies that are not Allstate or State Farm. But the thing is, if you get into an accident, are they going to cover you as well as one of the main big players? I personally go with USA because I'm a veteran, but I did pay more just in moving here. So that's a good question from Adam Swan Sternberg. And then Rob Moore, hey everyone, we just bought a house in Surprise and eventually plan to have artificial grass professionally installed in the backyard. A friend of mine who used to live in AZ told me that doing that would attract rattlers and scorpions. Is this true? Other sources online say it's supposed to deter them, TIA. Okay, so as far as rattlers go, if you are in a rural area, rattlers where you have desert, they can kind of migrate down into your community. But if you're in like a city area, you won't have a problem with rattlers really, but you will have potentially a problem with scorpions. Now, out here in my yard right now, some of the problems that I'm having with pests or any sort of like thing like this is flies. I'm getting a lot of flies right now, and I'm trying to understand what's causing all these flies. They just came out of nowhere. All my neighbors have flies. It's just something that comes out here in Arizona. So flies are a big thing. And I've went on Amazon and ordered some fly traps because they're attracted to something out there. And my neighbor said it's the water. So I have a garden, so flies are attracted when I fertilize. So I've noticed that I get a lot more mosquitoes and flies when I fertilize my plants. And then when I wet it, it just creates this really welcoming environment for flies. But a lot of it is just what causes it, and then not having that environment that causes it. So if you're getting a lot of rattlesnakes, what are rattlesnakes going to eat? Rodents. So what's causing rodents? Well, in my backyard, I've had rodents coming because of my garden. They like to eat my garden. So I've had a rodent problem also. And those just came out of nowhere. But as far as scorpions go, people around me do have scorpion problems. I haven't yet seen any scorpions, but I also have ants. Ants are a pain in the butt, but there's this stuff that you can get at Walmart. You just sprinkle it on the ground, and they take it back to the ant hill. They take it down with them and to the queen, basically. All right, guys, 53 people watching and 46 up likes. Thanks to everyone who's been up liking the video. I think I figured out why I'm not getting any of the comments. It's because I didn't turn on Super Chat. So I apologize. I'll make sure I turn on Super Chat next time. This is my first time doing a live feed from the screen, but I'm going off questions from our Facebook group, Living in Arizona. So do you vaccinate your dogs forever in Tucson? I just heard a friend who moved there a few years ago had both her dogs contracted for valley fever. He's talking about. What's your take on it? Rare or absolutely vaccinate? So when I was a kid, valley fever was, talked about, but I never knew anyone who had valley fever or any animals that contracted valley fever. But I've noticed that people who moved to this state from out of state have said that they have a problem with valley fever with their animals. So valley fever is a pathogen or some sort of spore that's in the dust that on a very dusty day can get into people's air passage, into your breathing system, in your lungs. And that's where it causes problems. And it also does it to your pets. So I don't really have any answers for that. But let's see. Rebecca Lee Boast Warner says, no vaccine. There's trials about it. Start though. I got a deadly case of it and had to move to Oregon. It's very common and brutal to watch in dogs. Like I said, I mean, growing up, obviously being in high school, you're around thousands of people. I never knew one person who ever came down with valley fever, but for some reason, a lot of these new people are having these run-ins with valley fever, and I don't quite understand it. But growing up, I never knew anyone who had valley fever. That's not to downplay valley fever, but I'm saying, like, I wouldn't worry too much about valley fever. I could see, I know that some people are affected by it, and I don't know what exactly is all of a sudden the uptick in it. It's been around. I mean, even in California, we had people talking about valley fever. It doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. It's just, So Eddie says, hey, folks, I live in Oregon and was thinking about buying a new car. However, I will be relocating to Arizona within the next few months. Here in Arizona, we have no sales tax. If once I register my new car in Arizona, will there be any type of tax? So just so you know, Arizona does have some of the highest registration. So higher insurance, higher registration costs than most places I've been. So there is some sort of like taxation that maybe pays for all these freeways. I don't know, but that's a good question. So here comes from Brian Miller. My wife and I enjoy watching Living in Arizona YouTube videos. Thank you, Brian. Wish we had seen them sooner. We moved to the Yuma area from the Northeast back in 2015. Okay, I'm going to have to take another drink of this margarita because it tastes so good and it's refreshing. And it's got a little kick of tequila. After the grandkids are older, we hope to relocate to either the Phoenix or Tucson areas where available social and culture activities are more suitable to our interests. Since moving to Yuma, we've learned a lot, good and bad, about this part of AZ that brief vacations didn't reveal. I would not move to Yuma. Yuma is out there. There's nothing there. I mean, it's 2.5 hours from San Diego and 2.5 hours from Phoenix and an hour from Puerto Penasco, thereabouts, or, La Paz, Mexico. On the Colorado Basin, one of the hottest places in all of America that's inhabited, right? I mean, it's, you've got Death Valley, but that's uninhabitable. Yuma is basically Death Valley type weather, minus 1 or 2 or 3 degrees, okay? And there's nothing there except for military industrial complex and farming, maybe like some service jobs and border patrol. So yeah, I mean, Brian is basically telling you guys, if you're considering moving to Yuma, go to Phoenix, go to Tucson. Unless you're border patrol, or military, you probably don't need to be in Yuma or a farmer. All right. So Kevin Martin, hi everyone. I know this topic has been brought up by Jeff on YouTube videos. I'm Jeff, in case you don't know, on South Mountain in different neighborhoods, but it's pretty clear to me. You can see and have have-nots. I stopped this way to start my day. So he's saying that he hiked up South Mountain, which is when you're in downtown Phoenix, you look south towards the mountains, you'll see South Mountain's the big one, and you can hike up there. And he's saying that on some parts, when you're hiking up there, you can see big old houses on one part of South Mountain, and then the have-nots, which are going to be on the other side of the mountain, which is actually where like you can see Tolleson and some of those other areas that you don't want to go into, because South Phoenix used to be, crazy, right? I mean, it still is, but now North Phoenix kind of rivals South Phoenix for the craziest place to be in all of Arizona. But that's a good insight. And so, yeah, I mean, it's been a long live feed. Let's see how many people are still tuning in. So 61 and 50 people have smashed up the likes. If you guys want me to keep going, smash up the likes, and I'll keep going and answering these questions. Hopefully some of them are answering stuff that you guys want to know. But go into this group, Living in Arizona. It's called Living in Arizona. Search it or just join it in the comments or in the citation on this video. You can hit join group. And this is where I'm fielding all these questions from. It's not just me answering these questions. In fact, I actually appreciate when you, the community, responds to a lot of these questions, because it's really hard for me to keep up with everything. Obviously, I have a real job and I do other things, so I can't answer every question. Although doing one of these live streams, it's pretty easy, right? So maybe, we'll see. Squally Colbert. I'm a non-traditional college student. I'm a 40-year-old college student. Okay. Yeah, I hear you, man. Never stop learning, right? From San Francisco, currently attending the University of Kentucky in Lexington. Been here for a few years and not happy with Lexington. I'm looking to transfer schools again, closer to my home state of California. I was looking at ASU, U of A, trying to figure out the pros and cons of both Phoenix and Tucson. Any suggestions? Okay, so let me try to dial it in real quick here. So Tucson, it doesn't have an intricate freeway system. If you're spending a lot of time in cars in Tucson, you're going to be driving on a lot of surface streets. I mean, there's I-10 and there's a couple different highways outside of that, but for the most part, it doesn't have the zippity doo-dah day around like Phoenix does, where the Phoenix has the State Route 51, the 202, the 101, the 303. I mean, Phoenix is built for massive expansion and massive growth with super highway corridors, like stuff that's basically the best in the world. I mean, Phoenix has some of the best freeway systems in all of the world, straight up. And it's still got problems, but Tucson doesn't have that. Tucson's not one of those freeway-based cities. So keep that in mind. Between basically I-10 in and out, okay? And then you have Tucson is also a little bit higher desert, and it's at the base of a mountain called the Santa Catalinas, which is at the base of this mountain called Mount Lemmon, which has a ski resort or a ski area at the top, which is kind of nice, and you can escape to the Pines, which I find to be nice. Now, it is a way smaller city. It's about 500 to 600,000 people live in the metro area, whereas I want to say 5 to 6 million people, some would say 7 million people. It depends on how many are documented, right, in the Phoenix metro area. So Phoenix is a pretty big metropolis compared to Tucson. So that's why we have 4 sports teams: the Phoenix Suns, the Arizona Coyotes, the Arizona Diamondbacks, and the Arizona Cardinals. Tucson doesn't have any pro sports teams. It's a lot smaller area, but some would say that on the outskirts, if you're really into rural living, some of the most beautiful high desert countryside can be found in Tucson. Now, Phoenix does have that. It's just Phoenix is just such a metropolis compared to Tucson. It's really the difference. So if you want the modern amenities of everything, you're going to get that in Phoenix. Tucson's going to be a little bit more laid back, but it's going to have its own separate problems. Like the airport's not even really an international airport, but it is. It's kind of like one of those things. So I hope that kind of puts things into perspective in a real quick, thing. Robin Middlethun, currently 80 degrees and 55% humidity in Oslo, Norway, where I live. 100 degrees in Phoenix was a lot more enjoyable than this. So people are saying that 100 degrees in Phoenix is more tolerable than 80 degrees and a lot of humidity where they're coming from. And so like today, it's probably 105 degrees. I was outside. I turned on the mister system. The sun is pretty bright, but I've been in a lot of places where there was a very bright sun. But it is tolerable. But like I said, you wear a cover, some long sleeves. You can do some things that don't include sunscreen that will help you feel pretty good. So that's an interesting point. And so Willa, she says, any suggestions of where to live near a lake, 15 miles or so, that allows personal watercraft? So most of these lakes allow personal watercraft. I can't think of many lakes around the Phoenix area that don't allow personal watercraft or watercraft in general. They all pretty much have a marina, and they all have boat docks and boat ramps. So you have Lake Pleasant in the West Valley near Peoria, Surprise, and Glendale. And then you have New River and Black Canyon City, right? Anthem. And then you have in Cave Creek, Carefree, North Scottsdale, you have Bartlett and Horseshoe, which is where the fire is. And then in the Southeast Valley, you have Canyon, Saguaro Lake, Roosevelt Lake, Apache Lake. You know, this whole area, you have a bunch of different lakes. Cochise Lake. Wait, is Cochise Lake? No, I don't know about Cochise Lake. Just in case you're wondering, a lot of these names are Apache names. Like, you ever heard of Apache Junction? The Apaches were a tribe that were very notorious out here in the settling of Arizona. So Cochise, Geronimo, those were chieftains of the Apache tribes. So when you hear the term Apache stronghold, those were areas where the Apaches were very strong and had a big resistance, and they also had a big presence in those areas. And so that's why a lot of these lakes up here, in particular up in the Tonto National Park area, are going to be named after Apaches, like Geronimo, Cochise. Okay, these are the Arizona versions of Sitting Bull and Crazy Horse and stuff like that up in North Dakota. And a very admirable, if you study the history on that, is admirable attempts to maintain and preserve their culture as the cavalry was moving in. And if you just look at it from an agnostic point of view, where you're not taking a side, but you're just appreciating and respecting both the United States and the Apaches, what had to go through to get to where we are now to present day, it's quite the story to understand the Apache side of it and the cavalry side of it, Washington, D.C., and what their efforts for the Manifest Destiny were, right? Okay, so people saying, oh my God, Jeff James, I think this is where people go tubing, isn't it? So Sasha Dakasha is talking about where to do some water recreation. I made a specific video on this, but you have the Salt River. That's where people do the tubing. Now, the Salt River is basically all those reservoirs that start from Roosevelt all the way down to Apache Lake and all the way down to Canyon and Saguaro Lake before they release out of the Saguaro Lake Dam. That's basically the Salt River. Once they come out of the Saguaro Lake Dam, it turns into the Salt River. And people tube that. Like this time of year, you can go tubing down the Salt River. It's like a water recreational thing that people do. People bring ice chests with all sorts of drinks and stuff. Who knows what you guys like to drink, but you get the point. All right. So 62 people watching and 60 up likes. So it looks like you guys want me to keep going. So I will. Let's see here. Thanks to everyone who's been crushing up the like button and getting this out there. Starting the journey to the high plains. Let's see here. What area of Phoenix Metro is the cheapest? Okay, I'm going to have to take a drink of this refreshing margarita. Oh, so good. Like an area considered lower class, we're a young family that don't have much money currently. Okay, Buckeye. There you go, Buckeye. Go look at that. Go look at Litchfield Park. Go look at Surprise. Or if you want the Southeast Valley, look at Florence or Santan Valley. You could also look at Glendale, which, I don't know, Glendale's... I wouldn't live in Glendale. I would not. Oh, man. People are going to be like, what's wrong with Glendale? Well, Apache Junction is not too bad. There's also some other places that are kind of out a little bit further out of Phoenix Metro that are growing, like Casa Grande and also Maricopa. You could take a look at Maricopa, which is my brother, who's a real estate agent. I've mentioned his name a couple times. He was in the last live feed. We've got to figure out a way to get you guys in touch with him if you have any questions about buying a house. But Maricopa, I said, where should I invest and buy some land? And he said Casa Grande and Maricopa. because Phoenix is moving south. We talked about that in that other video about the mega region of the Tucson Phoenix mega corridor. You know, you have Cascadia mega corridor, the Bay Area corridor, the northeastern corridor with New York, Philly, and Boston, and Providence, and then you have the Atlanta corridor that includes like what is it, Nashville or Atlanta and Charlotte, and apparently that's a corridor. But then you have the Dallas Fort Worth corridor. But Phoenix is a mega region from Phoenix to Tucson, and in between Phoenix and Tucson is Casa Grande and Maricopa. So that tells you that, yeah, the urban sprawl is going to push down. Whereas if we're pretty much spread all the way north, I mean, we can't really go too much further north unless we start going up towards Wickenburg, but that's probably not going to happen because the flat land is south. And that puts us going towards that area. And if you push towards Buckeye, beyond Buckeye is going to be where Bill Gates is building that new smart city called Belmont. That's what they should have called it, actually, right? That's the margarita talking. But Belmont is out there even further beyond the White Tank Mountains. But if you push beyond that and you go south, you come to Gila Bend. I mean, that's flat land out there, but oh my gosh, it's hot. I mean, I used to look at Buckeye and I'd be like, people, I remember when they first said, oh yeah, they're getting ready to build a master plan community out in Buckeye. I think they built Verrado and stuff. I was like, no, this was 20, 30 years ago. I was like, no, heck no, I wouldn't move to Buckeye. This place is hot. Well, people started moving to Buckeye. Now it actually looks pretty good. So, I mean, what humans can do, they can turn nothing into something. But same thing out towards Florence. So, but yeah, I mean, Maricopa and Casa Grande, I mean, I wouldn't probably want to live out there 20, 30 years ago, but now they've got big plans for Maricopa and Casa Grande. So hopefully, Douglas, that answers some of your questions. All right, so we've got helicopter rescues there. I'm new to this group. Does anyone have any pictures or video of the new community of Casa Lucero in Goodyear? That's another one of those places you could check out in the West Valley, kind of like what they have going on with Verrado, right? And so some people were asking what kind of foods grow out here in your garden and backyard. As you can see, I've had a lot of different foods growing back there. I mean, I've got watermelon, cantaloupe. The only one that I've really had a hard time growing is cucumber. I really like cucumbers because I want to make I wanted to make those pickle cucumbers. Cucumbers are the only ones I've really had problems with. Like I grew zucchini like wild, crazy. Grapes grow great out here. Squash grows great out here. Tomatoes, cherry tomatoes, big tomatoes, those grow. Bell peppers, jalapenos, salsa peppers, all that stuff grows really good out here. Habanero, onions, garlic, that grows out here. Carrots grow like wildfire. Like you could literally throw a thing of carrots in the sky and they'll just grow. Celery grows really good. And then all the citrus. So, I mean, you can grow a ton of stuff out here, guys. Really, for real. Mary Jane Freitas says, I'm looking at surrounding areas of Kingman to buy a house, such as Meadview. Need to know about the good or bad of that area. Thank you. So Kingman, people have asked about Kingman. I mean, that's closer to Las Vegas. I mean, you're going to be further away from Phoenix than you are to Las Vegas if you're moving to Kingman. Kingman's one of those towns you drive through on the way to Vegas, and when you drive through it, you're kind of like stopping to get gas and Jack in the Box, and that's it. Maybe a stick of beef jerky or a power bar, who knows, Gatorade. But Kingman, it's too hot in the summer and it's too cold in the winter. That's basically the way I'd look at it, and there's nothing really out there. I mean, if I had to pick between Kingman and Bullhead City, which are kind of like close together, I would go with Bullhead City, which on the other side of the state line is going to be Laughlin. So that's something to consider. People asking about police brutality in Arizona with body cams and all that. I would say that the Phoenix police have a tough job. There's some pretty wild people out there and on the streets. And unfortunately, the police have had to use lethal force, some of it justified and some of it not justified. But I mean, would you want to be a Phoenix police officer for 20 years? I mean, if you're a Phoenix police officer for 20 years, imagine the types of folks you're going to be coming across. And Phoenix does we have a lot of sunshine out here. So if they're a little bit of a wild one, you know, they've got a lot of time to be out there being wild in some pretty good sunshine and some pretty good weather. And being a cop out here, I mean, it's pretty bad for the cops. I mean, for 20 years and you have a family, I mean, it's scary. And I know that some of you are going to be like, oh, screw the police, this and that. But I'm saying, would you want to be a police officer and deal with the type of public that they have to deal with? I mean, we even had it to happen to where one of the guys was chasing down a suspect and he got ambushed by the local crew. So he was chasing down a suspect who was on the run and he got ambushed and shot. It was him or the guy who was ambushing him. We're talking about someone who was stalking, as a predator stalks prey, a police officer as he was walking through a community. Okay, so I mean, these are the things that police officers are up against. We'll leave it at that. But I don't really want to talk about that subject anyway. Anyways, guys, let's check on this. So we're at 53 and 66 up likes. Thanks to everyone who's been up liking the video. Looks like the audience is going less and less numbers. So I'll end it here and I'll turn on Super Chat next time so you guys can ask the questions in Super Chat. And we'll see you guys next time. And don't forget to join that group, Living in Arizona. I will post a link or just catch it in the citation. You know, we're in the description area. Just join right there. We'll see you guys next time.